work hard, achieve greatness in the field or the arena. Of course, the downside of the myth is it equates success with individual effort and potentially ignores economic, political, and social factors that could prevent someone from achieving success. Yeah. Also, another part of this particular section on sports myth, a myth is the stories are not just manifested in the actual playing of the sports and the watching and the coverage. It's also in stories about that and movies about that and shows about that. And so one of the things the book talks about is about how we have a lot of films about athletes, about sports, and oftentimes they deal with racial issues, and it talks about how it shows that sports is a way to overcome cultural and social divisions. But one of the things that the research indicates is obviously they're movies. They always play with the truth. And basically, when they dramatize the sport's capacity to foster racial harmony, it's not wrong, but each movie simplifies the complexities of real life. So things are not always as great or easy as, ooh, we won our football game, yay, let's all get together and sing Kumbaya. Even though that sense of sports bringing people together of different races and all that is a cultural sort of story, which is not exactly wrong, but simplified. Okay, sports and ritual. There's always different types of rituals. I've talked about different types of rituals. And oftentimes through this process, we belong to folks. There's a really good thing on the bottom of page 101. As in the case with myth more broadly, then sports rituals can serve communities by providing communicative means of joining people together. Consider, for example, how commonplace songs and chants are among sports crowds. Baseball's evening, a seventh evening stretch would feel incomplete without "Take me out to the ball game and get me some nachos." I don't think that's how it goes, but it also talks about the Cornhuskers. You know what the N on the Nebraska Cornhuskers football helmet stands for? Knowledge. Okay. This is good tea. Another part of this, though, is compulsion. There was really interesting research that was done post 9/11, and this is happening right now, very obviously, that people feel compelled to participate in some of these rituals. And then if you don't, so it talks about, for instance, this is from a guy named Rothenbuehler. Well, actually, no, because it was Butterworth. Mixing his study of baseball ceremonies that took place after the terrorist attacks of September 11th, 2001, if you didn't remember. As he explains, through repeated performances of God Bless America and inclusions of nationalistic imagery, baseball tributes moved from a healing ritual to a potential exercise in ideology that could preserve a privileged interpretation of national identity. Moreover, because of the heightened anxiety felt in the United States after 9/11, any resistance to this ritual was likely to be considered subversive or unpatriotic. That still exists with us. You stand up, you put your hand over your heart. If you don't, you must hate America. There's some problems with that thinking, I think. And they have this little case study here of another sort of ritual. They talk about Hurricane Katrina and the work done by Dan Grano and Ken Zagacki. That's Dan right there. That's me. We're hanging out at a bar in Louisville, Kentucky for a conference. And Ken Zagacki was the director of my dissertation at LSU. But, you know, they talked about how Monday Night Football and the going to a football game becomes a sort of ritual. And it was emphasized that first Monday Night Football, that when the Saints were back in the Superdome, that it was a healing ritual. Everything was wonderful again. But that, of course, is very, very problematic because it forgets, it's like the Superdome is fine. We don't have to mess with poverty anymore. Or that. So, in other words, the restored Superdome creates the illusion that those who must have suffered after the storm, poor African Americans mainly, had now been healed by virtue of the communal rituals taking place because of football. An argument that remains far from true many years later. It's true. Okay. Heroes. My heroes have always been cowboys. So, did you ever notice you're my hero? The book, when they're moving to this section in chapter 5 on page 103, talks about, athletes and their jobs. They're entertainers. They are celebrities. But are they really heroes? Yeah, sure. To some people, they are. The book talks about how some of these, this sense of these folks being heroes is manufactured. It's not necessarily, whereas heroes earn public admiration being authentic. So is that this guy, Drucker, doesn't think they're really heroes, but to a lot of people they are. It sort of depends on the context. And I've already talked about hero. Luke Skywalker's a hero. Who's a hero? Hero is somebody who is a transcendent individual who faces tests and trials of strength and character. Through such challenges, the hero is transformed, leaving one condition and finding the source of life to bring forth a richer, more mature condition. There's Joseph Campbell. That hero stuff that I already talked about. So, bottom of page 107 I thought I'm skipping over, but it's pretty interesting when it comes to all this type of stuff. This is what it says. Thinking of contemporary sports figures as heroes is complicated. They are human beings, really, like anyone else, and thus are bound to make mistakes. You think? Although they often provide suitable role models, there are also numerous examples of athletes whose behavior are indefensible. For example, Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Ben Roethlisberger, whatever his name is, and golfer Tiger Woods have each been implicated in embarrassing scandals involving allegations of sexual assault for Ben and chronic marital infidelity. I'm sorry, I have chronic marital infidelity. It's a way of saying he's a big old cheater. Nevertheless, in a media-saturated world where sports continues to grow in popularity, there's little doubt that Americans will continue to grant their sports superstars heroic status. Kobe Bryant and all these folks, yeah. And then one of the things that's actually really interesting about issues of race here, and I'm going back to page 106, oftentimes there are, it talks about McGuire, Mark McGuire. You don't know who he is. He was a baseball player and got caught doping, and McGuire remained a human, simple fact, lost some exaggerated reports of his heroic greatness, much as with Vic, blah, blah, blah. In addition, in any case, there is, he said, meanwhile, the relegated Sosa to the role of sidekick, often using his Latin American heritage as a point of comic relief. So, as a result, the portrayal of two players, unintentionally though it may have been, privileged a white American hero and diminished the status of non-white Latin American figure. And that's not always uncommon. We live in a racist society. And then there's this idea of the anti-hero, which I love anti-heroes, that are also heroes. It depends on your perspective. But a figure who often disrupts or challenges commonly accepted beliefs and practices that may be oppressive. Minority athletes, women, or gay and lesbian athletes all have the potential to embody the anti-hero persona. Talk about Billie Jean King, Dennis Rodman. And I'm sort of going to end there because I think one of the things, and I'll let you look at this, but a contemporary situation that's going on is with Kaepernick. Kaepernick. And the idea that he is protesting in part against police brutality, but I think it's bigger than that, just like Black Lives Matters is bigger than that, I think. By kneeling during the national anthem, and it's caused, a pretty big discussion, and the Super Bowl is this Sunday. But what you should ponder. Here's the thing. This is why all this stuff is messy and tricky and complicated. I'm not telling you what to think here, but there has been obviously a huge backlash, particularly in the sporting world, where folks are making sure that, particularly folks in colleges and stuff like that, do what they see as proper and stand and put their hand over their heart and sing poorly. But what is more patriotic? Having the courage to kneel, to protest, or going with the compulsion of I have to do this? I don't know. A lot of people say, it disrespects servicemen and women. I don't know. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, maybe it does to some, maybe it doesn't to others. When people are talking, I don't know. But what is the meaning of patriotism? Is standing, putting your hand over your heart, is that patriotism? Or is kneeling in protest patriotism? I don't know. But it's really interesting to think about the meanings of Americanism, the meanings of we were founded on protest, the meanings of patriot, all this stuff. Because sport and American mythology, American values, and all that type of stuff is all caught up with one another. So in any case, and to some he's a hero, to some he's an anti-hero, to some he's just like, ugh. I don't know. Things to ponder. I will let you ponder that, and this is enough for tonight, and I will give you some more stuff probably later on, tomorrow or Saturday. Probably not Sunday. You all go to that Super Bowl party. Thanks, Rebecca. That was awesome. I doubt I will be there because I will be working probably. But have some delicious Cheetos for me, and I'll have more